it's Kevin Syracuse from Sports Hour. We're live here at the Bills game.
You get bet?
Good evening and welcome into another episode of Sports Hour here in Hendricks Hall on the SUNY Fredonia campus. I am your host Kevin Syracuse, along with Dee Thomas, our MLB analyst, and Dee was right with her prediction. The Dodgers won it in 6 games.
Yep, I was absolutely right. I predicted Dodgers in 6 the whole time, and you said Rays in 7. We didn't get to see a Rays in 7.
Well, I think we could have and we should have, and I am still. Even though I wanted the Dodgers to win, I am still very upset with Kevin Cash for that decision. I'll leave it at that, that decision to pull Blake Snell. And that goes back to what we were saying in the previous episodes here. And I was saying that Dave Roberts was going to be the one to mess up and kind of overanalyze and overmanage the game. But it ended up being Kevin Cash who did that. And I just can't believe that that's what it came down to. I mean, that's not to say that if Blake Snell would have stayed in the game, they would have won, but he was cruising. And you hate to see when a manager pulls a starter like that who had no mistakes pretty much.
Yeah,
he was pretty much perfect.
He definitely had him on a short leash. That was the shortest leash I've ever seen. He gave up 1 hit and he pulled him, and then things went crumbling down for the Tampa Bay Rays after that. They got runners on second and third, and they ended up producing those 2 runs, and then, Bookie Betts added another cushion by hitting a home run in the 8th inning, and that's what sealed the game. That was the Dodgers, saving grace was Snell getting pulled, because I thought the Rays were going to end up winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, that really seemed like it was Tampa's game to win, and we were going to have a Game 7. I think we all wanted a Game 7, no matter who you were rooting for. It was just such a great series, back and forth, that you just wanted that Game 7. We haven't had sports in so long up until, the last couple months, and all these sports leagues are coming back, and you want to get as many games in as you can. And, we were just stripped
the playoffs,
of a great finish.
The teams wanted more baseball because all of these series were as long as they could be, Game 5. Then we wanted a Game 7 because we only got 60 games in the regular season, so we wanted to extend the season as much as we could until late October, and we were 1 game off. But it was nice to see that the Dodgers finally pulled it off, because they had been in the World Series 3 times in the past 4 years, and they haven't been able to produce a World Series championship, and they finally did it in 2020.
Yeah, so that was their 7th World Series title, first since 1988 with the famous Kirk Gibson home run. And like you said, they lost to the Astros and to the Red Sox. So, congrats to the Dodgers on finally winning. We both wanted the Dodgers to win, being Yankees fans, we didn't want the Rays to get one. But at the same time, it was a great series. It was a lot of fun watching, and you just hate to see it come to an end, especially that way. Because I've always been a firm believer in, yes, analytics are good to a point. There comes to a point where you have to just trust your gut and play old school baseball and say, hey, this is our best pitcher, and he's pitching really well, and he won a Cy Young for us, and he's our ace. So we're going to leave him in. Yeah.
Or let's totally take him out after 1 hit's been given up, and it's the 5th inning, and now he can't even qualify for the win if he wanted to, because he didn't complete 5 full innings. So, who knows how things would have turned out, because this whole season was full of what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? And it just was a crazy year, and it was a fun year for, a shortened season that we had.
Yeah. So one more thing that I'll say about that is, Blake Snell is your ace. Like I said, he's a former Cy Young winner. That's a game that he gets you to Game 7. Like, you don't rely on your bullpen to try to get you to Game 7. Like, he's your workhorse. Blake Snell is your guy. Let him ride you out until Game 7. You know, even if it takes 120 pitches, so what? It's the end of the year.
It's the end of the year. He's not going to throw another inning.
You don't need to conserve him
Until
for anything.
April.
Lay
Yeah.
it all out on the line. I mean, that's where you find these great finishes. Like, it was a tweet. I can't, excuse me, I can't remember the guys that they mentioned, but that's where, like, legacies are born, you know? Like, you hear all these names of these guys who, like, created names for themselves in the postseason, and Cash just stripped Snell of that chance.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, 100%. Although another person who, you know, stood out in this whole World Series and all of the playoffs was Corey Seager. He was named the MVP unanimously for the World Series and for the League Championship Series. And, you know, this is the first time, you know, a player has been named an MVP twice in the same season for 2 different series since Madison Bumgarner in 2014, which is, you know, very impressive. You know, Seager had a 400 batting average, 556 on-base percentage, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 7 runs scored. And that's just World Series stats, isn't it? That's not just.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and that's just 6 games.
Yeah, so other top players for the Dodgers were Max Muncy, he hit 318. Jock Peterson, he hit 400 as well. Mookie Betts had a couple big hits. Cody Bellinger had a few big hits. Justin Turner, he hit 320, and that's another thing that we haven't mentioned yet, the whole COVID thing, that apparently he tested positive during the game. And what was it, in the 8th inning, they pulled him because of the positive test. And then he's back out on the field to celebrate
And he's holding,
without a mask, and then he's kissing the trophy.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about, you know, the Dodgers or anyone testing positive after that. But another, like, you talk about Mookie Betts, and he had some great catches in right field, like over the wall, saving home runs, saving his pitchers, some really big hits that could have been absolute game changers in all of the series this playoff year.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are definitely missing it, or I should say the Red Sox fans are definitely missing him.
They're probably very, very upset about everything happening, because who knows, if they had Mookie Betts, maybe they would be the ones winning the World Series this year. But I mean, you can't rely on just one person, but that's a big person and part of your team that you're missing.
And a couple other names that we want to mention here for some key performers from each side. First, finishing out for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw finally didn't crumble under pressure. Great to see him get his first ring. Walker Buehler pitched great. Victor Gonzalez, Julio Urias, they were great out of the bullpen. Urias was the winning pitcher in that Game 6. And then for Tampa, Randy Arozarena, what can you say about this kid? I mean, 10 home runs in the postseason, set a record. Kevin Kiermaier, he played great. Brandon Lau, he didn't have the best batting average, but he came up with some timely hits and some timely home runs.
He performed when, you know, it mattered. I mean, the whole series mattered, but when it was his time to shine, he shined. Like, he performed really well when he needed to.
Yeah, and then Brett Phillips, too. Another one of these no-names, kind of symbolic of the Tampa Bay Rays organization. A bunch of guys that you don't really hear about that get the job done, and that's what Brett Phillips did in that crazy Game 4. And it was just back and forth, and then he had that walk-off. Chris Taylor misplayed it in center field. 2 runs scored, walk-off single for Brett Phillips, and that was just crazy. And, you know, that was why I think we all wanted to see a Game 7, just because we saw the potential that this series had.
There is some more we have to talk about, but we don't have much time. We do have a couple, you know, free agents happening right now. A big one is DJ LeMahieu. He was offered a qualifying offer of $18.9 million for a 1-year contract, and he has 10 days to accept, which would be November 11th.
Yeah, so we're running out of time. We'll have to save this for next week, but just real quick, so 6 players received a qualifying offer, and they were Kevin Gausman, like Dee said, DJ LeMahieu, Trevor Bauer, George Springer, JT Realmuto, and Marcus Stroman. So these guys have 10 days to accept the offer. If not, if they decline, they are free agents. And then just a couple quick Yankees notes. They decided to keep Zach Britton, and Giancarlo Stanton opted in. And like you said, LeMahieu, they extended that offer to him. But Masahiro Tanaka, Brett Gardner, James Paxton and Jay Happ all did not receive the offers. So we'll have to see what happens there, but we will have more for you about that next week on next week's show. So thank you for coming on. And then Sarah will be on to talk about the AFC in 3 minutes here on WNYF.
To be the best at anything, you've got to be physically fit. Train hard. You've got to be sharp mentally and keep yourself in top shape. You've got to learn all there is to know about your sport and be a team player. And most of all, you must have the burning desire to be the best. Incidentally, that's exactly what it takes to be a Marine. Sports and the Marine Corps are natural partners because the demands are the same. Teamwork, pride, discipline, and physical fitness. If you're interested in developing to your full athletic potential, the Marine Corps Sports Program offers an opportunity to go as far as your athletic talent and desire will take you, even as far as the Olympic Games. If you seek the challenge of going out for the world's finest team, maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
You know, every mother wants their new baby to be healthy. I know that's how I felt about mine. But the mothers of these babies were not so lucky. These babies were born with the AIDS virus. Right now, there's no cure, but you can help prevent the spread of AIDS. If you're sexually active, please use a condom because it'll help prevent AIDS. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner. Do it for the babies.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. Simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
And how far is too far?
What about the allegations?
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate.
No comment. Please, no comment.
Or here, you may never have been fully informed about the environmental
Policy is
crisis.
perfectly appropriate behavior.
Within policy. Would you say that secret activities are within policy?
Look, no comment.
Did you get authorization? No, it was illegal.
I said I cannot comment at this time.
Or had they stopped here, you may never have known if it concerned an issue that concerned you.
I'd like you to check the record.
Who monitored this activity, sir?
Who approved the funding? The committee approved all.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed,
I have nothing more to say.
how far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Happy to have Sarah Gordon back with us to talk about the AFC. And Sarah, I'm really happy to say that the Bills beat New England for the first time since 2016 and in Buffalo for the first time since 2011.
I know, it's amazing, and it's upsetting that there's no fans that are able to be there. Like,
Oh, that would've been great.
That's a big bummer, but because that really would have been great, really good entertainment, obviously, and just good for our team. But you know, they still won. No fans or no fans, and that's all that matters. You beat Bill Belichick. So.
Yeah, so I think that's a good starting point. So how do you feel after a win like this? Because the Bills are 6-2 now. They're in first place in the AFC East. Miami's actually surprisingly in second. New England's in third now. They're 2-5. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, it's like, okay, you did what you're supposed to. You covered the spread. You beat New England. You're in first place. You're 6-2. That's great, right? Like on the outside looking in, great. But when you really look at it, it's kind of how they won that's kind of a little unsettling for me, because I think if they play like that next week against Seattle, we're going to be in for some trouble here.
Yeah, absolutely. obviously we have gotten the last 2 weeks the wins, but there's still, the team itself is still looking a little questionable because, I don't know, the offense just doesn't, they've just kind of been in a rut ever since after the first 4 games, those losses. And so it's a little bit concerning for the future games, but hopefully we're going to take these wins and hopefully we'll learn something from it, but we definitely still have a long way to go. And then Miami's also coming up on us a little bit, so that's concerning too.
So I thought it was the John Brown injury, and that's why, I was like, well, John Brown's out, so maybe that's why the offense is in a rut, but he was back yesterday. He's not 100%, but he was back, and they're still, okay, the offense wasn't bad yesterday.
No.
The thing was, we had the run game going,
Yeah.
finally. I mean, that was great to see. So 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 from Moss, 1 from Allen, and we really didn't need the passing game. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. So I guess the big thing here is that I hope they can just find that balance, because they won with the passing attack in the first 4 games, and now the last 2, well, mainly just yesterday, it was the run game. So I just hope that they can find that balance moving forward here. And then I really hope that the defense can find their identity.
Yeah.
And, the trade deadline's tomorrow at 4 o'clock, so I hope that they can find a big body to put on the D-line here, because that run defense is very shaky. I mean, they looked great in the first half, and then in the second half, New England was running all over us.
Yeah, they definitely allowed New England space to come back, and it's definitely a big concern. The defense seemed better during the beginning of the season, but now these last few games, you've definitely seen the shaky sides of them. And we just hope we can find a solution and get that one player who's really going to help push the defense to the next level.
But like I said, you gotta be happy with the fact of the matter is we're 6-2, we're in first place, and like I said, you just gotta be happy with that.
Yeah.
So moving on now, we're talking about the Dolphins, so let's go there next. LA and Miami. This is Tua, I can never say his name, Tagovailoa.
I think that was the closest, yeah.
His first start. I still don't understand why they benched Ryan Fitzpatrick for him. He really wasn't that great yesterday. I mean, the defense won it. They had, what, like 23 fantasy points or something?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't on the QB yesterday. It was definitely all the defense, but...
And, yeah, so it was pretty much all Miami yesterday, and the Rams outgained them by like 350 yards or some crazy number like that.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't Tua that won them the game yesterday. Like I said, it was the defense and special teams.
Yeah, it was definitely a wake-up call for Tua, and it'll be interesting to see how he's going to do the rest of the season. But, it is a shame, definitely, that they benched Fitzpatrick for him. But, but that was a crazy game because the fumbles were nuts. There was the one play where the Miami was at their own 9-yard line, and then they fumbled the ball, recovered by the Rams, and then the Rams set up, and they had one play, and then on the second play of the possession, Emmanuel Agba sacked Jared Goff, and then they fumbled, and then this was scooped up by Dolphins linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel, and then they took it down the field for 78 yards for the Dolphin touchdown.
Yeah, that was a key part of the game. So 4 turnovers for the Rams, 2 for the Dolphins, and then the other stat that I was just talking about, the Rams had 471 yards of total offense. The Dolphins just 145. So I'm not good at math. What is that? Like 326 they outgained them by, right? So you look at those numbers and you're like, how is it so one-sided in Miami's favor when they were on the downside of that? But it just shows what defense and special teams can do, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, and those were definitely the deciders of the game. So
the Dolphins moved to 4-3, and suddenly it's Buffalo and Miami going for that first place spot in the AFC East.
Coming up on us.
What did you say?
They're coming up on us, so
we'll
have to see what happens.
So then rounding out the AFC East, a team that we do not have to worry about, the Jets. They actually kept it close with the Chiefs. It was, it wasn't a complete blowout like I thought it would be. Mahomes still threw for over 400 yards, and the Chiefs won 35-9. But got to give the Jets a little bit of credit. They did keep it close in the beginning.
Yeah, and they were able to they held the Jets to no touchdowns, but they definitely did keep it close at the beginning. But then you just had Patrick Mahomes, and you give him the ball, and he just throws for 5 touchdowns, and he's just going off. And sometimes there's not much you can do to stop him, and unfortunately that's what happens with the Jets last night. The defense just wasn't enough to hold back Mahomes and the wide variety of receivers he used for touchdowns last night, like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. So we'll have to see if the Jets can pick themselves up and get a win, because right now they're still 0-8. So.
Yeah, it does not look good for them.
No.
And the other players for the Chiefs that had the touchdowns, you said Kelce had 1, he also had 109 yards. Tyreek Hill had 98 yards. McCole Hardman, 7 catches, 96 yards and a touchdown. Then Demarcus Robinson, 4 catches, 63 yards and a touchdown. Sammy Watkins was still out with his hamstring injury, so that just shows how dangerous the Chiefs can be. I mean,
even
whether they're
one
playing the
weapon.
Jets or not, they're just dangerous.
Yeah, even losing one weapon, they still have countless others. So they're definitely a team to be reckoned with.
So moving over to the AFC North now, this was a great game, and the Steelers are still undefeated. 7-0 they moved to, and the Ravens dropped to 5-2.
Yeah, it's definitely, I didn't get to watch this one, but it's just a game that I kind of wish I had time to watch, because Pittsburgh, this was the second time in team history that they are 7-0, and the first time since 1978. And
that was the year they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And just Ben Roethlisberger, he's just one of these ageless wonders. He threw for 182 yards and two touchdowns with zero interceptions, and he used his Juju Smith-Schuster for 67 yards for receivers, and Eric Ebron, who also had 48 yards and a touchdown, and as well as Chase Claypool, 42 yards and a touchdown. So right there you have a lot of weapons receiver-wise for Ben, and that's probably one of the reasons why the Steelers are still undefeated.
And their defense is looking really sharp right now. I mean, they forced 4 turnovers on Lamar and the Ravens. 2 of them were interceptions from Lamar. And now they just added 2 because they acquired Avery Williamson from the Jets, a linebacker. So he replaces Devin Bush, who just went out with a season-ending injury. So, I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off there. They have a lot of stars on that defense, and they're clicking right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, they took that one 28-24, and then another team in the AFC North here, I was not expecting them to win, but Cincinnati looked great yesterday.
Yeah, they
and Tennessee did not, which was nice to see, because Tennessee, they're one of the top seeds in the AFC, so as Bills fans, you got to root for Tennessee to lose whenever you can.
Yeah, absolutely, especially after we took that loss to them a couple weeks back. So, but yeah, no, Cincinnati looked good, and the QB, Joe Burrow, he threw for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns with 0 interceptions, while Ryan Tannehill on the other side threw for 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, but it still was not enough to get that win for Tennessee.
Yeah, Burrow is, I can't remember the exact stat, but it was something with I think completions through his first 7 or 8 games, but I think he's on track to have the most passing yards ever by a rookie quarterback. Oh. And he's, I believe, top 3 in the league in passing right now. So he's having an outstanding rookie year. What I say every week though is if they had a better team around them, they'd be a lot better. But really, the Bengals aren't that far off. I don't think they do have a lot of solid weapons around them.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of solid weapons, and their record wouldn't depict it. But like you said, they've got these great weapons for players, and we'll just have to see if they can start to make their record show it.
And rounding out the AFC North now, I still don't know what to think of this team, the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So they were 5-2, and they've been kind of streaky. But then, Baker, last week they played the Bengals, and Baker started 0 for 5 with an interception, and then he finished 22 of 23, 297 yards and 5 touchdowns. And it's like, man, this is the Browns' year maybe, especially with that extra wild card spot. They can get the playoffs. And then they just lay an egg against the Raiders yesterday, 16-6. We realized after the show we didn't even mention that Odell I think they announced it Monday afternoon last week, so he's out for the year with the torn ACL.
Yeah, that's a huge loss.
So again, I don't really know what to think of the Browns at this point. They're 5-3 now. I don't think they're going to win the division with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So if anything, I think they're going to go for a wild card spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just one of those touch and go teams. Like you said, you just don't know where they're going to go and what to think of them because their record's pretty decent, but then there's this last game, and you're just one of those things you're going to have to wait and find out.
Yeah, so Baker was only at 12 of 25 for 122 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Kareem Hunt, 14 carries, 66 yards. And then on the flip side, Derek Carr, 15 of 24, 112 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, they finally got him going, 31 carries, 128 yards, so that's good to see because he's been struggling as of late. Now, I will say the weather was very bad in Cleveland. It was very windy, so that was a big factor. But still, I think definitely got to be a little bit concerned if you're a Browns fan right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that being said, the Raiders are 4-3, and they are in second place in the AFC West. Again, I don't think, like the Browns, they're not going to win the division because they have the Chiefs, but they might be able to get one of those wild card spots. So we'll have to see with them. And, the two teams behind them, they're pretty shaky as well. They're just inconsistent, and that was, case in point yesterday with the Broncos and the Chargers. The Chargers blow another 17-point lead.
Yeah.
Late in the game, they're up 24-3.
Third quarter, they're up 24-3. So that left only 15 minutes for the fourth quarter, and then at the end of the third quarter, and they just blew it. And they let the Broncos come back and walk right all over them.
Yeah. So they move now. So the Broncos are 3-4 now. The Chargers are 2-5. And I guess what I was trying to say with that division is it's pretty much Kansas City's division. I think the Raiders are going to finish in second just based on how inconsistent these teams are. But again, I don't know because the Broncos and the Chargers are just so inconsistent. I mean, the Chargers are in these games every single week. They could easily have 5 or 6 wins right now.
Yeah.
But they don't. They're 2-5 and in the bottom of the division. So everything's kind of up in the air right now. But the fact of the matter is, it's Kansas City, Las Vegas, Denver, and LA.
Yeah.
But on the good side for LA, Justin Herbert continues to impress.
He does, and he threw for 278 yards with 3 touchdowns, but he did have 2 interceptions, but still the numbers, they're looking pretty good for him, and he's definitely looking impressive.
Yeah, and then Drew Lock too. I was watching that game. I was on the NFL Red Zone channel and flipping back and forth between the Saints and the Bears and then the 49ers and the Seahawks. We'll get to that in a couple minutes here with Jared. And then this is the other game that they were flipping to.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, what's going on with Drew Lock? I thought he was going to be a lot better than this. Then all of a sudden, I should have known that he was going to play great in the fourth quarter because he was playing the Chargers.
Yeah.
And, he let it come back. And it was pretty much a walk-off touchdown.
Yeah, he got me 68 fantasy points yesterday, so.
Wait, how much?
68 for Drew Lock.
68?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, what were his stats here?
Drew Lock had 248 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So.
68 points he had? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
At least in my league.
What league is that?
It's off the NFL app.
Really?
Or NFL.com, yeah.
Because Herbert had, I think about 20 points. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, he had pretty good numbers too.
Yeah, they had about similar numbers.
All right, well, real quick, what's your prediction for tonight's game? Tampa Bay and the Giants, which just got underway here.
I don't know. I think probably Tampa Bay just because of Brady, but because the Giants,
Yeah, the Giants.
They're just the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants are, like you said, the Giants, and the Bucks are looking really good. Brady, unfortunately, is looking really good.
Unfortunately.
Now they have Antonio Brown, so I'm going to go Tampa Bay here too.
Yeah.
But thank you, and Jared will be on in 2 minutes to talk about the NFC.
we've been down there. You gotta do the same. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. For selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. For selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink.
If it's time for a drink this many times a day, you're not a social drinker. You're a problem drinker. And you could be well on your way to really messing up your life. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
This is not a commercial. If you think measles, mumps, whooping cough, or polio are nothing to worry about, you'd better think again, because they could make your child go blind or deaf. They can cripple or kill. To protect children, you have to get them immunized. Get them their shots. It costs nothing or very little, so get it done now by your doctor or local health center. Your child's future is in your hands. Don't let her down.
A message in the interest of better health from the American Medical Association.
Happy to have Jared Marsh on with us now to talk about the NFC. And Jared, since you're a Bills fan, I just got to ask real quick, what are your thoughts? Are you kind of in that same mindset as what Sarah and I were saying, how it feels great, but at the same time, you feel a little bit concerned right now, especially with Russell Wilson and the high-powered Seahawks offense coming into town?
Yeah, that's, I mean, again, it's a win, but it was a very close game still. I mean, obviously, you know, it's not the same Patriots team without Tom Brady, but I mean, it's still a win. But I mean, like you were saying, we got the Seahawks next week, so we just gotta be ready for them.
So we will get to the Seahawks in a few minutes here. First of all, we want to go back and start with Thursday Night Football here, and Atlanta and Carolina, the Falcons, got their second win of the year, and they didn't blow a lead.
Yeah. So they did win, but their kicker. Younghoe Koo actually wins the game for them. I think he had half their points. He had like 13 points. He was 4 for 4 for field goals, and yeah, I mean he helps them come to their second victory here. So again, I mean the Panthers fall short yet again, falling to 3 and 5. Bridgewater, he throws for 176 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Curtis Samuel has one rushing touchdown and 1 receiving. DJ Moore, he was very quiet in this game. I think he only had like 2 receptions maybe. It wasn't very like, I don't know. It felt like he wasn't even there, you know.
After that big game last week.
Yeah, after that big game. And then Philip Walker, he comes in. I'm not sure what happened to Bridgewater, but he comes in for like, I think he only throws for like 2 receptions and he only had 3 yards. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he only came in for a little bit, and then Bridgewater comes back. But again, I mean, who knows?
Well, it's not all negative for the Panthers because they're hoping to have Christian McCaffrey back for this week's game against the Chiefs,
which is huge.
Yeah, that's
very huge.
I mean, he's their whole offense.
Exactly.
Mike Davis has been great.
Yeah.
He's filled in very nicely for McCaffrey. But he's no Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly. I mean, that is very huge. I mean, you know, I mean, you got this Chiefs offense who's amazing. I mean, obviously they're coming off the huge win against the Jets. Like you and Sarah were saying, yeah, I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. You have this amazing offense, but I think this is definitely a big hope for the Panthers. I'm hoping that they could. I'm hoping it's gonna be a good game, at least close.
Yeah,
But
they're
we'll
3-5, and there's a lot of season left. So their season isn't over, but the longer McCaffrey's out, the more it seems like they're not going to make the playoffs.
True. Yeah, exactly.
So, again, with that extra wild card spot, you really want McCaffrey back and try to make a little push here.
Absolutely.
So next game now, this one was a surprise to me. I was not expecting the Vikings to beat the Packers. And Dalvin Cook just ran all over them.
Yeah, again, I mean, Packers coming off their second loss. The Vikings come on top. This is a very huge win for them. Cousins throws for 160 yards and 1 touchdown. But the player of the game, like you said, is Dalvin Cook.
He had more rushing yards than Cousins did throwing.
Yeah, that's insane. He also had a 50-yard receiving touchdown, too.
So, yeah, 4 total touchdowns.
Yeah.
3 rushing and then that 1 receiving touchdown.
And then, however, though, the Vikings defense was suffering pretty bad. Head coach Mike Zimmerman, he finishes the game with only 2 healthy cornerbacks. I think the one, I'm not sure what his name was, like Colin or something. I don't even remember, but he actually got put on a stretcher in the hospital. He actually suffered a concussion. But I don't know, 2 healthy cornerbacks. That's it. That's crazy.
So Aaron Rodgers was 27 of 41, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. All of those went to who else but Devontae Adams, who's been killing it the last couple of weeks here. And what's really hurting the Packers right now, Aaron Jones with that calf injury.
Yeah. That and also the defense. I mean, the defense was awful. They allowed Cook to get four touchdowns in total. I mean, you know, like the trade deadline's coming up. I mean, they got to go for somebody for the defense here because the Packers really need it.
And suddenly they have a problem at running back because now A.J. Dillon tested positive for the coronavirus. So he's out. And even worse for Green Bay, they're playing the 49ers on Thursday.
Yeah, next
so
week.
a real quick turnaround here. I don't know if Aaron Jones is going to be healthy enough. Dillon's out. I don't know about Jamal Williams if he has to quarantine. I don't know if he's been in direct contact. I mean, they're in the same the running back room together, so I don't know.
We'll have to see. I mean, again, this is Rodgers' second chance at the Super Bowl, and it's probably going to be cut short because of this defense. And these people obviously testing positive, too, all the players. So we'll see, though. I mean, hopefully the Packers can come through and beat the 49ers. We'll see.
Now going to another team in the NFC North, Detroit. They were coming off a big win against Atlanta, but they fell short against the Indianapolis Colts. 41-21 was the final.
Whew. So we'll first start with Detroit here. Matt Stafford, you know, again, he's an overrated quarterback, but he throws for 336 yards.
Overrated or underrated?
Underrated. No, overrated.
I was going to say.
He throws for 336 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Marvin Jones has 2 receiving touchdowns. And then Kenny Galladay leaves the game with a hip injury. He didn't return, though. So I'm not sure how long he's out.
Yeah, and, you know, I didn't even check. This is my first time seeing what the running backs did because that really wasn't a story yesterday. But we were talking about how they're going to be using this running back committee now that they have 3 good running backs. And so Adrian Peterson had 5 carries, DeAndre Swift had 6, and Kerryon Johnson didn't even get a carry.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, you know, again, just going back to the Falcons for a minute here. These two teams are average. I mean, they have great offenses, and yet they're still near the bottom of their division. I don't know if it's the division. I don't know if it's. I'm not sure what's going on with these 2 teams, but they're decent. And again, their offenses are just not coming through for them. I'm not sure what it is.
But on the flip side, the Colts looked really good yesterday.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers, 23 of 33, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jordan Wilkins, 20 carries, 89 yards, a touchdown. Nyheim Hines, he had 2 receiving touchdowns on 3 catches.
Yeah.
So the Colts are 5-2 now, and they seem to be figuring things out.
Yep, so with this huge win, I mean, like you said, Phillip Rivers looked amazing yesterday, throwing 3 touchdowns. They moved to second in the AFC South, right behind the Titans. And then next week, the Colts have a huge game, though, against the Ravens. I mean, this will be a great game between 2 great offenses. We'll have to see who wins. And
The
then,
Baltimore Colts.
Huh?
The Baltimore
yeah, exactly.
Colts.
And then they face the Titans in Week 10 for the top spot. So I mean, you got 2 big games coming up for the Colts.
Well, we'll see what they're made of here because it's really getting into the thick of the season
Yeah,
because I can't believe it. Like, this is the halfway point already, like
I
week
know.
8. And like from here on out, it's just going to fly by. And
Absolutely.
before you know it, you're going to start seeing these teams clinch playoff spots. And it's going to be Thanksgiving and then all of a sudden December. And then it's crazy.
Yeah.
So a couple big weeks coming up for the Colts. And now getting into the 4 o'clock games here. So first we have New Orleans and Chicago. This one was great.
Oh,
and this
yeah.
went well into the night too because it went into overtime.
Yeah.
And the Saints came out victorious. But it was a great game.
Yeah. Drew Brees throws for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kamara had 12 carries and ran for 67 yards. Jared Cook had one receiving touchdown. It's a very close matchup. Like you said, I mean, this went into overtime and it was won by a field goal. The Bears, obviously, again, start Nick Foles. Foles throws for 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And then I saw this today. The Bears wide receiver, Javon Wims, he's ejected for sucker punching a Saints cornerback, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He also could face a fine as well. I mean, what was he like? I don't know what exactly happened, but why would you do that? Like.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I'll say that the NFL came out and said, well, they didn't say, but they suspended him for 2 games.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty, I don't want to say weak, but seeing those punches, I think it should have been a lot more.
No, it's like, I don't know what happened, but I don't know. Who knows?
Now, there were rumors that Gardner-Johnson spit on him first, and that's why he punched him. But, like, I don't know what to believe there.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, he punched him. It looked terrible. And I like, what's the point of punching someone with a helmet on? Like, what are you accomplishing?
I'm not sure.
Like, it's not like his helmet was off. He has a helmet and full pads, and you're just, like, trying to punch him. Like, it makes no sense. So if he's, I mean, I guess that's it. I don't think they'll increase his suspension.
Yeah.
So 2 games, I mean, that's it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get that.
Yeah, plus it's fine as well. So
I don't
again,
get the NFL with their suspension sometimes, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Again, so there's more drama. I actually found this today, too, between head coach Matt Nagy and Nick Foles. That delayed game penalty in the 3rd quarter, which turned 3rd and 4 into a 3rd and 9. I actually watched the highlights yesterday. Nick Foles was getting like his players lined up, and he had no idea what the play clock was at. But apparently, he was wearing an armband that had all the plays, and Matt Nagy he was livid after that. He's like, "Why are you wearing that? Like, what's the point?" And so I don't know. I guess that was a whole big drama. So again with this Javon Wims and this drama, I mean, Bears got to and because of this, the Bears fall to 5-3, remain 2nd in the NFC North. And the Saints remain at the top of the NFC South.
And the Saints will have a huge game next Sunday night, I believe, against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So that'll be great.
That'll be a great
the
game.
Saints took the first matchup this year. So we'll see what comes about in that game.
Yeah.
But moving on here to a team that is very good, very dangerous, very well coached.
Yep.
They have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and apparently one of the best wide receivers in the league. Just a very dangerous team here at the Seattle Seahawks. They beat the 49ers 37-27.
Yeah, again, I mean, this Seattle team is looking unstoppable. I mean, the Bills are going to have their hands full next week, that's for sure. But it'll definitely be a good game. Seattle's obviously looking like a Super Bowl team right now, falling to 6-1. Wilson throws for 261 yards and 4 touchdowns, and DK Metcalf has 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. This offense is crazy. So.
Yeah, I mean their defense really isn't that great.
Yeah, it's not at all.
They're not the Legion of Boom anymore.
Yeah.
It's the offense that's carrying them. I mean, Russell Wilson throws 4 touchdowns in his sleep now. Like, it just comes so easy to him.
Yeah.
They're averaging 34.3 points per game.
Jeez.
And it's like, how do you stop them? And especially, you know, going back to what Sarah and I were saying with the Bills' defense.
Yeah.
Again, a win's a win, and you got to be happy you beat the Patriots. But if you can't dominate a Cam Newton-led team, I don't want to say dominate. If you can't stop them, a Cam Newton-led offense, what are you going to do with the Russell Wilson-led offense?
I mean, this is going to be a great game next week. I'm so excited to watch this, for sure.
Yeah. I'm very excited, but very nervous at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
But at the same time, you know, the Bills still have, what, a 2-game lead?
Yeah.
Or no, a game and a half because Miami's 4-3.
A game and a half. Yep.
So, and there's a lot of season left, so it's not to say like, you know, this is the season right here.
Yeah.
It's just one game, but at the same time, it's going to be a great test for the Bills. You know, how good of a team are they actually?
Exactly.
This is probably
this
their
is a
best
real
test of the year.
Yep, exactly.
This, and I would probably say Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So going over real quick to San Fran, I mean, you know, the offense was good. Jimmy G starts, but he gets pulled because of his ankle, and Nick Mullins comes in, throws for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, George Kittle leaves the game as well with an ankle injury. I'm not sure when they're going to return, but we'll see.
Well, Garoppolo's out indefinitely. Kittle's out 8 weeks.
Oh, my gosh.
So it just keeps getting worse for San Fran.
Yep.
And real quick, we just have a minute or two left. So Sunday night, the barn burner, Dallas and Philadelphia. Dallas continues to not impress.
Yeah.
Philly didn't really impress that much either.
Yeah.
But they won 23-9, and they're in first place with 3 wins.
Yeah. Again, I mean, Eagles have less than 250 yards. They turned the ball over a lot. They got sacked 4 times. How do you? And despite all that, they still won. That's just crazy. I mean, that pretty much sums up 2020 right there.
Yeah, so they're 3-4-1 and atop the NFC East.
Yep.
So, I mean, we talk about this every week, but it's like, you know, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but seriously, what? 6 wins is going to get you to the playoffs this year? 7? I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, you never know.
Okay, we're about out of time. Real quick, what's your prediction tonight, Tampa?
I got the Bucks winning 35-10.
35-10. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game, a big blowout too.
Yep.
Do we have an update real quick? 7-3, the Giants actually, with 2 minutes left in the first. So, all right, thanks for coming on, Jared. And for the first time ever on Sports Hour, we are going to talk some college football here with Trevor in 3 minutes.
You've got to be sharp mentally and keep yourself in top shape. You've got to learn all there is to know about your sport and be a team player. And most of all, you must have the burning desire to be the best. Incidentally, that's exactly what it takes to be a Marine. Sports and the Marine Corps are natural partners because the demands are the same. Teamwork, pride, discipline, and physical fitness. If you're interested in developing to your full athletic potential, the Marine Corps Sports Program offers an opportunity to go as far as your athletic talent and desire will take you, even as far as the Olympic Games. If you seek the challenge of going out for the world's finest team, maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
You know, every mother wants their new baby to be healthy. I know that's how I felt about mine. But the mothers of these babies were not so lucky. These babies were born with the AIDS virus. Right now, there's no cure, but you can help prevent the spread of AIDS. If you're sexually active, please use a condom because it'll help prevent AIDS. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner. Do it for the babies.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. Simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
But how far is too far?
What about the allegations?
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate.
No comment. Please, no comment.
Or here, you may never have been fully informed about the environmental crisis.
Perfectly appropriate behavior.
Within policy. Would you say that secret activities are within policy?
No comment.
Did you get authorization?
I said I cannot comment at this time.
Or had they stopped here, you may never have known if it concerned an issue that concerned you.
I'd like you to check the record.
Who monitored this activity, sir?
Who approved the funding? The committee approved it.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed,
I have nothing more to say.
how far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Trevor Howard joins us now to round out the show with some college football. Like I said, for the first time, at least in the 4 years that I've been doing this, I don't know if they talked about college football before, but for the first time in at least 4 years, we're talking some college football.
Let's do it.
So, Trevor, before we get into the games that we would like to discuss here, I'm just going to go over the standings here and, kind of highlight some of these teams because I think a lot of people, myself included, it's kind of, we're at a point now where it's good to go over the standings because the schedule's been so wacky in college football. You have some conferences who have been playing from week 1, some conferences that just started a couple weeks ago, and then you have conferences like the MAC, UB's conference. They're kicking off Wednesday.
Wednesday night, yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And these power rankings are, I'm going to say the word shocking to say the least. There are some teams in here that haven't been in the top 25 in decades.
Yeah, so to get things going here, first, the American Athletic Conference. So they've played, I think I guess it's all different because, you have Cincinnati at the top. They're ranked 6th, by the way, and they're 5-0 overall. But looking down here, SMU's ranked 18, and they played 7 games. So, I thought they were doing it by the conference. So, I thought they would have had the same amount of games, so I don't really know exactly what's going on with that.
Yeah, it definitely is a little crazy the way that the NCAA is, formatting their entire schedule. Some teams have only played 2 games, some have already played 7. It's going to be interesting once these games start to wind down what the record's going to be and what the top 25 is going to look like for sure.
Well, actually, I forgot to mention they maybe had some COVID issues because it seems like most teams would have about 7 games in that conference, but we've seen Notre Dame, they had to take a week off because of COVID.
Right.
So I don't really know exactly what each conference has been doing, but I'll just kind of round out the rest of the conferences here. So the ACC, Clemson ranked number 1. They're at the top of the division. They are 7-0. Notre Dame having a great year, ranked number 4.
Yep.
They are 6-0. So that conference has been going pretty much right from the start. The Big 12, Iowa State is at the top of that conference, ranked 17, 4-2 overall. The Big 10, they're just getting going. Indiana, they're at the top, ranked number 13. They are 2-0, right behind them. Ohio State, number 3.
That's super crazy to see. Indiana, normally a basketball school, at the top of the division. It is early, but they are at the top of the division. They're getting the job done.
And Ohio State is right behind them, number 3 in the country, but 2nd in the conference.
Yeah.
And they are 2-0 overall. So, they're just getting underway here too. Conference USA, Marshall, they are ranked 16th, and they are at the top of the division with a 5-0 record.
Crazy.
Moving on here to the FBS Independence, BYU, they are 7-0 and ranked 9th. And then Liberty is ranked 25. 25th. They're 6-0.
Liberty used to be a completely online school. They're in the top 25 in football. It's just insane.
Yeah, and then like I said, the MAC, they are getting going this week. The Mountain West Conference, Boise State is leading that conference. They are ranked 21st, but they're just getting going too.
Yep.
They are 2-0. The Pac-12, they haven't played yet. They're not going to play, right?
No,
Didn't they say they're not going to?
There's been no word about when the Pac-12 is going to start. So teams like Oregon, Oregon State, and all those other West Coast teams.
Stanford, Washington.
Yeah. We don't know if
Arizona.
they're going to be playing at all this year, which is it's rough for those seniors and those freshmen that worked so hard to get on the team. But you never know. Something could come out and say, all right, Pac-12, you guys are going to play. So
True.
You never really know.
And then in the SEC, this is the powerhouse for college football. Georgia and Florida are the two top teams in the East. Georgia's ranked
fifth.
They're fifth with the 4-1 record. Florida is ranked 8th. They're 3-1, and then in the West, Alabama, they are 6-0, number 2 in the country, and then Texas A&M, they are 7th in the country with a 4-1 record. In the Sun Belt Conference, Coastal Carolina, ranked 15th in the country with a 6-0 record. So that is
usually a basketball school.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Yeah.
15th in the league now in football. You just love to see it.
Yeah, and actually that's the last conference on here. So as you can see, I mean, a lot of flexibility here with the NCAA with college football. Like I said, some conferences have been going since early September. Some are just getting going Wednesday, like UB.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see UB back out there. So we're going to be seeing Kent State too. We're going to be seeing Miami, Ohio, and Bowling Green. We're going to see that entire division or the whole conference back now. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, now as for the games, I just mentioned Coastal Carolina, and that's the first game that we're going to talk about because, like I said, they're 15th in the country, and they beat Georgia State 51-0 this weekend.
What a blowout. I mean, QB for Coastal Carolina, Grayson McCall, he went 18 of 24, 254 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And this is Coastal Carolina we're talking about. While Georgia State quarterback Cornelius Brown threw for only 30 passing yards and 1 interception. They held him to under 50 passing yards. And 51-0, what a blowout. What a blowout that was.
Yeah, I'm very surprised with Coastal Carolina. I mean, when I was down in Myrtle Beach, like I drove by and I was just like, oh, it's Coastal Carolina. Like, you never hear of this school. And now all of a sudden they're 15th in the nation. So,
and hopefully for them, it only goes up from here. It'll be fun to see what happens with them.
Yeah, so moving on now, Georgia and Kentucky. The number 5 Bulldogs, it really wasn't too convincing of a win. They only beat them 14-3.
Everybody thought that this game was going to be a blowout for Georgia. It was 7-3 at halftime. And Georgia did not look good through the air, but they were running the ball down their throats with the running back Zamir White. He had 26 carries for 136 yards and a touchdown. Very low scoring, but the Georgia Bulldogs got it done, and they remained 5th in the top 25.
And another team, Clemson, who is number 1, they had a scare too.
Oh, it was real scary for them.
Just escaped against Boston College 34-28.
And at halftime, Boston College was leading unstoppable Clemson 28-13. Clemson was playing without Trevor Lawrence, but they still led themselves to victory nonetheless. Clemson's now 7-0, and they remain 1st in the nation after that clutch win. If they lost to Boston College, I don't even think they'd be in the top 5. Because Boston College is unranked, you never know. Like, some of these crazy upsets could happen. But Clemson did come out on top. They remain in 1st place.
Moving on now, number 3 Ohio State versus Penn State. This was a great game, and the Buckeyes took this one 38-25. Great to see Justin Fields back on the field.
It is great to see
no
Justin
Fields.
Yeah, he had a field day, I guess you can say. But it was looking like it was going to be a blowout. Ohio State was winning the game 38-10 in the 3rd quarter, and Penn State started to rally back. They showed fight the whole way through. It just came a bit short, though. They scored 15 unanswered points in the 4th quarter, and future 1st-round pick Justin Fields threw 28 for 34, 318 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And then Penn State's quarterback Sean Clifford had a very productive day as well, throwing 18 for 30 for 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And Penn State is still ranked, or they were ranked 17th, and now they're out of the top 25 with a loss to Ohio State.
And just a couple more minutes here, so we'll try to make this quick. Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. Once again, Notre Dame is now ranked number 4. They beat Georgia Tech here 31-13. Ian Book was 18-26 for 199 yards and a touchdown. So big game coming up for Notre Dame this Saturday night against Clemson, who is going to be without Trevor Lawrence, who tested positive.
So expect Notre Dame to go into that game knowing that Lawrence is out. They're going to come out fighting. I'm going to say Notre Dame wins that game against Clemson.
Yeah, I'm going to go Notre Dame too. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I think, trying to be unbiased, I think they're the better team right now.
Yeah.
And real quick, Texas, number 22 Texas and number 14 Oklahoma State. This one went to overtime where Texas took it 41-34.
Gave Oklahoma State their first loss.
And then the last game we want to talk about here, Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan was ranked 23rd, or are they still ranked 23rd now?
They're still ranked 23rd, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But they dropped this one to their cross-state rivals, the Spartans, 27-24.
They got shocked in the Battle of Michigan. Michigan State came out on top, but those games are always fun to watch because you never know what could happen.
So thanks for coming on, Trevor. It's great to see college football back in action. Obviously a different season, but most conferences, I think the Pac-12 is just the last one that isn't playing right now.
Yep.
So great to see them underway, and go UB, go Notre Dame, and we'll see what happens there. So we'll be back next week, same time, same place, here in Hendricks Hall. Once again, this is Sports Hour with Kevin Syracuse and Trevor Hauer. So have a good week.